All right, we are live with the T-Wager website launch. Um, Going to share some screens with you and let you know about the new site we've launched. It is intended for people who use DraftKings and daily fantasy sports uh, and need a real edge. Just as a disclaimer, the analysis and the statistics that we provide are not intended to promote gambling. We're we do provide uh, information that is valuable for wagering, but it's not the intended purpose of this website to have people gamble. It is more of a website to handicap golfers, in particular. The rosters that we provide have a value formula, and what we do with the value formula is uh, enable people to predict outcomes. Uh, so basically, uh, to give a description of the website, um, we apply a single value score for each player built on key metrics. Uh, the custom adjustments that we make every week are based on the strokes gained, um, the best overall predictor of the fit of the player to the course. We match up the player to the course, um, the player recent form, if they've done really well in the past few outings and major competitions, and we note that and figure that into our metric and our formula. Um, as far as momentum and the strokes gained is another metric that we add in. The approach, the iron play, their wins versus losses as far as their cut making ability. We measure the tee and putting skills. Um, we look at their course similarity that they've had in the history of player performance. Um, some of the things that we look at that many of the major gambling sites do not look at is the um social media, um, the recent player withdrawals and injury reports, and some of the hidden momentum signals that we have, the proprietary calculations that we use weekly is the player trends. We basically can run 10,000 simulations using our artificial intelligence and robotic process. And the ultimate goal is to produce a single number. Um, each player on the roster is assigned a unique number based on all of those calculations that are done weekly. Um, and the AI actually changes every week. It produces a different number based on what uh, what the course prevalent measure, like driving accuracy in certain courses, might be more valuable. So the metrics that we use and the mathematical processes and the formulas to provide that unique number for a player differs from every other gambling and betting site, because other sites oftentimes their goal is to get you to bet. They're based on copy and paste. They will provide you with the player stats, and you're welcome to look at those stats. But as far as making sense out of those numbers and putting it all in one place where you can look at it is done. So uh, let's get on with the presentation here. Um, we are currently sharing our downloadable uh, T-Wager. Um, in our downloads position, we have currently there is a fee for the downloads, but since this is a new website, I'm going to make everything free today. I haven't done it as of yet, but um, in the future, the amount of work and the number of years that we've put into developing this formula, uh, we think is pretty unique, and there is value added, and the success will be obviously reported by our viewers. So we want to make that clear. So let's see if we can share this spreadsheet that you download. What we have is a final value for the players that we derive through a number of calculations. Let's do this. So the Pro Analytical breakdown sheet that you're allowed to download contains all of the player information. Let's see if we can share this spreadsheet. Okay, now we're sharing the entire screen, and this is what we're after. Okay, so you've downloaded this is this week's picks. As you can see, Wyndham Clark is withdrawn. Um, this is what you get. Um, and I'm going to explain the analytics of this formula. Uh, so column F is basically to get to the heart of the matter, um, derived from the player's salary, the average fantasy points they get per game. We get a composite score from that. Uh, and then we have our value added formula that our artificial intelligence produces. And we basically take that salary value over the average points per games. We mathematically combine it with the composite score that's AI generated under our basically running 10,000 simulations. We try to produce uh, beyond a statistical mean a player value, and the player value is based on all of the greens and regulation, driving accuracy, all those metrics that are normally combined in addition to a bunch of other metrics, including like social media scores. We'll add player injuries. We'll add course fit and player how the player individually stacks up against the course and their history. Um, a lot of the history that we use is recent performance which changes, our formula actually changes every week to rate these players. So if you look at the final value, this is our EV, which is um, it's an extrapolated value that it's unique. There's no other website that you can go to and find a value for players that is this compact for each player. So, and in this formula, as you see in this column, the lower the score of the player, the better the player. And I went ahead and selected some of the players, um, and they're highlighted in blue, which have a very low handicap or final value. Those are the best players. So in this week's pick, uh, Aberg, actually, even though he's the most expensive golfer, he has a low composite final value, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for the lowest value in this formula. And the ones that we have picked out, Keith Mitchell, I think if you see his score here, his salary is $8,800, but his final value is a 32, which is extremely low and good. That's what we want. We want the low value. After all the computational formulation is complete, we see that he's a 32.3, and even better, Hitsatsuni is even lower. So we demarcated all the players and highlighted the ones that have an extremely low score. What you'll notice as we go through the list, you'll see a bunch. Typically, every week these sheets look very similar. You'll see a few picks at the top of the leaderboard. You'll see a concentration toward the middle. Some of those players are good value picks because they are in the middle. Their salary is middle, and their performance is good. What you'll then notice is a lack of highlighted players in the lower salary ranges. So in this 7,400 down to even the lowest salaries, there are very few players that we actually, and the design of this is intentional. These players, one of the most important aspects of these players is that they make the cut. In daily fantasy sports, typically a fantasy roster is produced 6 players. They have to compete 4 days. If they don't make the cut, they'll play for 2 days, and then their scoring will not add to your composite score. So that's not what we want. We want to pick players that are going to be there for 4 days. So there are a lot less players to pick from. If you look at some of these scores, though, they're very compelling to pick a few of these players off the bottom end of this list. Zach, I think, is if you look at that value of a 22, a $7,200 salary, and you look at his recent performance, the metric seems to be doing what it's supposed to do. Patrick Rogers is typically a golfer that you would think has a probability of making the cut. Ricky Castillo, same way. John Perry, very good low score. Kevin Roy. And as we proceed down the list, we have one other golfer listed. Sometimes these are anomalies. Zach Blair, 7.599 Um, it carried it up a lot more decimals than we needed, but 7.59 is one of the lowest scores, and you see it in between all of these scores of uh, let's go ahead and mark. So we're going to mark Hayden Springer, that 12.7. Trace Crow, we didn't have marked. Let's mark him. So you can do this on your own. You can go through and highlight players that you think, like I said, when we get to the bottom of the list, we don't have a lot of them highlighted. You can use different colors if you want. This was an example of a player that we picked out very far down on the list, a low number. A consideration, but the trend is um, those players have much less chance of making the cut, so they're very often overlooked by our algorithm and by the value formula. They are present. There are numbers there that are compelling, but um, the recommendation is probably the majority of picks, oftentimes the better, more productive picks, and often the winners of these tournaments often come in the $8,500 to $7,500 range of players, or top 10 players. But the idea is to give you a statistical advantage. It does not produce the exact lineup. However, if we look at a previous week and compare the player finish to what we recommended, this is 2 weeks ago. This was our sheet that we send out as a recommendation. Siwoo Kim, you'll notice. However, if you go down through the list, the winner of that was actually Wyndham Clark here. And we did not, let's put a big old red mark. This is one we missed. We had him rated at a 54 in our value formula. We were dead on with Siwoo, as you can see, 46, 53, 84 players around him who did well. But as a standout and as a pick, this was a good pick. We had some of the other top players that we recommended, as you can see, that finished very well in this tournament. And Blades Brown, if you look down here, very new, very overlooked player. You can see his rating at 21. You can see Kevin Roy rated at 23. Was also recommended. So the point being here, sometime later today, what I'll do is I'll add a column over here. We'll call this finish position. And my intent is to publish these older sheets that we produced for people, and then put down the player position, so we'll have a historical record of how effective our formula is in picking these players. We're going to bring that to you in the future. But with the current picks, we have some standouts, and we'll keep track of any players that we deem uh, and run the algorithm one more time before we actually produce the last sheet. It will be up to date as of Thursday is the deadline, as everyone knows, for most of these major golf championships, and it's almost impossible to have a up to the minute forecast of the players because oftentimes nothing changes. Um, it might be a future addition to the website, but currently we just want to get the word out, and we want to, as far as the website itself goes, it's we want to have a download for our pro analytical sheet. We're going to make it free. It's not going to be $8. We're going to add a subscription where weekly in your inbox, when we complete our analysis and our formulations, we're going to put them out in the spreadsheet on a Monday night or Tuesday morning so that you'll have them for a few days. Feel free to put your own. The good part about these spreadsheet is you can add columns. You can put your own metric, uh, and if you're good with spreadsheets, you can actually do some math and formulations and basically calculate that throughout the website. So uh, if you want to add points or subtract points for basic players, and you can easily track that in multiple columns that you can add on your own and come up with your own, or pick the players that you want to pick or colorize. It's basically made to be a starting point that gives you an advantage of if you're going to research and do a more in-depth wager versus just picking random players because of name or recent performance. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler is the best golfer currently. Some of the golfers at the top of the FedEx points, they're easy to pick, but what we do is we provide insights into the overlooked players or the players that make the difference in, especially in the contest where 50% of the people are winners. If you can find those contests, this is the epitome of the best possible outcomes on those because you're getting the advantage of it. So we're going to leave that for now. We'll be back later this afternoon with some more insights. So enjoy your evening, enjoy your day, and we'll work on the website. I'll come back and we'll get some updates and let you know the latest. Uh, download our rosters. Uh, give us some feedback. That's what we're after.